Hello and welcome to UC Today. My name is David Dungay, and today we are here to talk about channel sales and marketing trends. I'm joined by Will Morey from Pragma and Peter Williamson from Aria Technologies. Welcome to the show, guys. How are you?
Great, thanks, Dave. Thanks very much for the welcome.
Fantastic.
Hi, Paul. Good with you.
Great, thanks. Okay, well let's do a few introductions just before we get started. Peter, do you want to kick us off? Tell us a little bit about yourself and the business.
Sure, Dave. Look, Peter Williamson, they call me Willow, so feel free to do that throughout the interview. I've been in the industry here in Australia for more years than I'm prepared to share, and spent some of my career with Telstra, the large ex-government carrier, and more recently, the last 15 or so years with Aria Technologies as the sales and marketing director here in Australia and the Pacific. So enjoying it, and we have a wonderful relationship with the guys at Pragma, which is why we're here together today.
Well, while we're talking about Pragma, Will, give us your intro and tell us a little bit about Pragma.
Thank you very much. Well, Pragma is actually part of the EnableX group, a recently formed group business, and we focus on the UCaaS space. We partner with Ericsson, LG, with their IPEX cloud technology, and we bring that to market solely through resellers. So we live, breathe, and love driving the channel and working with the reseller community.
Fantastic. So we're here to talk about trends in channel sales and marketing. Will, let's stick with you at the minute. I mean, what is your assessment of the sales landscape at the moment, and how's that changed from your perspective over the course of the last couple of years?
I guess the first thing to say is you're working with buyers who are increasingly savvy. They understand technology more than ever. So perhaps the days where you could go out and you could bamboozle the buyer with a few quick acronyms and throw a few technical terms in there are well gone. What we've got is a buyer now who really understands the market. So you've got salespeople who've got to adapt to that. They've got to demonstrate greater knowledge, greater understanding, not just of the technology, but the business challenges that the customer's trying to focus on. So firstly, there's kind of a capability piece. Then I think there's very much, clearly a much more digital approach to this. I think when you're talking to a customer, the customer absolutely expects you to have solved the digital transformation challenge. So you've got to be able to engage with them in the way they want. It could be a face-to-face meeting. It could be they want to jump onto a Teams call. It could be they want to interact with you in any multitude of ways. You've got to be able to demonstrate that you can work with them in the environment that works for them, because that's what they're looking to get from you. I think with that digital skill set as well, you've also got to accept that now a salesperson has got to think far more like a marketing person, because your job is to engage people over LinkedIn and all of these other mediums. That means that you've got now a much broader skill set. So essentially sales and marketing are coming closer together, in those days where the marketing guys were given a packet of crayons and asked to make things look pretty are well gone. Their focus is very, very specific now around generating leads, about being deeply analytical, using data in their approach around content and around the market, and bringing that together with the sales team. So I think you've got a few kind of themes there starting to come together that means that the sales role is heavily professionalized and has moved on and adapted rapidly in the last few years.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more, Dave. I think as what Will said, I think the first issue is that the key drivers have changed over the last few years, and certainly from our perspective here in Australia, where we've actually endured a few more challenges other than just the pandemic in recent times in terms of natural disasters and the like. We've really seen an absolute insatiable appetite for business continuity, for businesses to be able to spin on a sixpence, breathe in, breathe out, relocate its staff to remote working, bring them back into the office. And so that whole business continuity, working from anywhere on any network with a fully, there's the dog, sorry about that, with a fully measurable and agile network is critical. I think also the other thing that I couldn't agree more with is the whole digital world. The salesperson needs to be their own digital marketer. They need to represent themselves in a different way. And it's not just about that moment of engagement. It's about the story you tell and the solutions you can deliver, because everyone is looking for cost-effective ways to reinvent their business.
Yeah.
The only other thing I'd add to that, and we've heard it loud and clear from many kind of channel partners, is during the pandemic, people worked really hard to lock down their base. They spent lots of time speaking to their customer base and working to upgrade them and make sure they were meeting exactly the challenges that Willow was talking about. It feels like one of the things that's changed is now we're going beyond that. It's now very much back to that customer acquisition role that salespeople were doing before. And I think that's almost, people got quite comfortable in that base upgrade role. It was, easier not to be out there talking to new businesses. And now people are very much back to that. And when they're going back to it, they've got to adopt that digital skill set that Willow touched on there as well, because now it's all about customer acquisition, and everybody's out there fighting for every single opportunity they can.
There is such a lot going on. I do want to pick up on a few things with that. So, Will, you're talking about the digital tools every salesman needs to use. Whether that be LinkedIn or something else. We're seeing. I keep hearing the word disruptive selling. The social selling is the other one. What all these terms mean? Maybe Willow. Maybe you want to give us a bit of a rundown of what that means to you.
Look, thanks, David. Look, we certainly 2 or 3 years ago, we saw disruptive selling as being the new nirvana, the new way towards opening up the customers' requirements, getting to understand their pain points, their success points, and sponsoring solutions or sponsoring continuation of those behaviours. But let's be honest, how much disruption do you want? Okay, so let alone if we take the natural disasters out that are here in Australia, on top of the pandemic and the war in the Ukraine and the growing cost of living and the growing interest rates, do I need to go on? There's a whole whirlwind or a hurricane of issues that exist there. So the customer doesn't need to be disrupted anymore. The customer's disrupted. I think what the question is how do we look at the pain points, the challenges that their business has? For me, I keep talking about it. Maybe I see things too simply, but it's about keeping the doors open, whether it's the restaurant doors, the business doors, or virtual doors. If you can't keep your doors open, keep your business operating, this is the challenge, which is why I continue to harp on. I think disruptive selling is dead because disruption's everywhere. It's now about how do we deliver business continuity in an ICT space.
Much more about reassurance selling, really reassuring your customer that you're the partner that can help them, and reassure them that you can navigate them through this sudden world of disruption and chaos they found themselves in.
Absolutely, Will. And I think the interesting thing, cloudification, particularly in the telephony space, a few years ago was all about chasing technology. Now it is all about chasing true solutions. For us here in Australia, where natural disasters, recent floods, the ability to move your business out of its physical location and place it elsewhere was absolutely critical because most of those businesses were underwater, right? So it really is a very critical component, I think, to today. And I don't know what's happening. I don't keep up with the UK all the time, but we're seeing, there's another strain of COVID, there's another this. So there's potentially going to be more challenges coming. There's no question about that. Are you prepared to handle it? Is your business able to, as I keep saying, turn on a sixpence? That's the question.
Yeah, absolutely. Okay, well, let's talk about subscription-based economies. We've seen this, time and time again in our personal lives and increasingly in our business lives. How has that impacted the landscape from a channel perspective? I guess, Will, this one's to you. How can partners really adapt to this?
I think the kind of subscription-based landscape we find ourselves in has affected so many different areas of the reseller. So looking at it firstly, even at something like an M&A and kind of the inflows of capital into our market, there's an increased amount of trust of businesses because they can see predictable income over a longer period, and that's absolutely an impact of this as a service model. So there's more money flowing into the market than ever before, and I think we're looking as businesses more attractive than ever before because people really understand the value that can be unlocked in a great as a service business. So firstly, you've got that, which is kind of shaping the kind of the amount of capital available. That's creating more value in businesses. So people are looking to kind of grow much more aggressively in this space. The consolidation that's taking place is really significant. We had the guys at Knight Corporate Finance down at our conference last week talking about the kind of the consolidation that's taking place and how some of the bigger consolidators in the market are now looking for bigger deals to kind of turn their numbers. That's creating mid-market consolidation now and more opportunities for smaller players. So all of this is happening. That's partly driven by the software as a service space. Then we've got, at a sales level and the kind of the way salespeople are operating is changing because they need to be selling in a different way. They're selling much more of a partnership approach, I think, because when you buy into an as a service product, you're buying into the future roadmap. You're buying into the fact that you're not buying the technology today. You're buying what that subscription can get you in an onward way. You're buying into the fact that that will continue to solve problems, that you're partnering up with somebody who will have a technology that will continue to suit your needs and continue to offer things that help you grow, adapt your business, and continue to kind of digitally evolve. So you've got that kind of space change going on in that space as well. And then I think the other aspect of this is just the number of players in the market. The kind of competitive nature of this market is fundamentally changing, perhaps linked to the earlier reason as well. There are new businesses coming in all of the time. The number of platforms in the UK now, I think, is well over 150 when we look at the UCaaS space. And again, that part of the market seems ripe for a little bit of consolidation as well. So the competition is extremely high in this. But I think that the great news is that there's huge amounts of opportunity. The speed at which people want to transition over to cloud and this new consumption model is absolutely massive. So I see huge opportunities for all of the resellers out there, because fundamentally now we're all software as a service businesses. Yeah, a few years ago, pre-pandemic, we didn't think of ourselves as that. We didn't take on that identity. Now we are an as a service business in the telco space. And if we're not taking on that mindset, we're not, understanding the metrics that go with it around MRR, around churn, and around ARR and ARPU, and run out of acronyms, but you know what I mean. All of these different metrics now are part of how we live and breathe in our business. So we are an as a service business.
Yeah, I think certainly from where we see a lot of channels moving towards more reliance on the managed services and professional services component to make the profitability of the sale reasonable. I think we're under lots of pressures from vendors in terms of pricing. There's been a lot of cannibalization and commoditization of hardware. We all know that over the last decade, and that's only going to get worse. And indeed, if you think about it, in today's economic environment, certainly in Australia and probably in the UK, the ability to deliver an OPEX model versus a CAPEX model is critical to the customer. So we're at a little bit of odds, because the salespeople look for immediate gratification and monetization of the sale, whereas the customers are looking to amortize their costs and deliver that in an OPEX model. So we're at a bit of loggerheads. We in Australia, we provide for finance to allow the full financing of cloud opportunities so they can be monetized up front, but we continue to work with our channel to develop their non-reliance on that and their ability to move towards a true annuity stream. Because as we know, if the partners move there in 18 months, they're in a really good position. But you've got to be able to deal with the consequences of that 18 months, which can be challenging, particularly after a pandemic or two.
It's interesting that kind of transition or change, Willow. I don't know what you think, but as we now look at the competitive landscape we operate in, Ericsson LG are the only, as far as I can see it, legacy vendor who came from a kind of the telco side to have made it through to the other side of being an as a service business. Everybody else has kind of rung the retreat and maybe partnered up with a well-known vendor and ducked out of the market. They've given up and left the market. And Ericsson LG are the only guys still standing who come from that background.
No question, Will, all I'm going to say is, a few of them fell for the sucker punch.
Absolutely.
So you don't be careful when you invite the spider into your nest, because you're going to get stung, and that certainly is what's going to happen for a few of the very well known vendors. I can't believe that they were that stupid, but that's probably a bit harsh. But yes, I agree with you wholeheartedly. It's going to be interesting times, and they're not. And it's not built around continuous development of the platform. That's what is the other concerning thing. It's about dragging people across and holding them there. But anyway, ELG is certainly the last person standing for a true PBX experience in the cloud that's affordable and effective. God, I should have practiced that, shouldn't I?
So before we leave today's session, I want to leave our audience with a little something to take away from today. So we talk about channels, sales, and marketing trends in the market, what they mean. For those partners watching today, where should their focus be when it comes to this? What few things they really need to think about and focus on. So just if we could summarize that, Will, I'll start with you. Do you want to give us just a couple of things partners really need to be thinking about?
I think the number one thing I'd say is partnership in this is key. We've just spoken about the various challenges that exist, and finding a partner you can work with, but more importantly, you can trust, someone who lives and breathes channel and lives and breathes and loves trying to help you drive your business, because you're facing all of those challenges that we've spoken about around the change towards more of a digital skill set. Salespeople become marketing people, and this shift to an as-a-service business model. All of those things require a partner to help you get through to the other side of it and be successful. And I think that's the key to this. It's finding that right partner and both parties committing, working together to try and drive the outcome that we're all looking for.
And Willow, what would you like to leave our audience with today?
Well, Will's covered it very, very, very aptly. I think the partners that you deal with, the people you deal with, are going to be part of that journey to the other side. I think I would say three things. When it comes to your customers, think about business continuity. When it comes to your sales force, think about their sales and marketing digital capabilities. And when it comes to the economic consequences, the financial component, think about how you can drain or coach your channel partner away from immediate monetization into annuity, and do it as a balance. It's something that balances, right? You can't do it overnight, and it doesn't need to be done overnight, but it certainly needs to be addressed. And the last thing I'd say, Dave, sorry about the dog barking. She was just chasing the kangaroo out of the backyard. I'm only kidding.
Fantastic. Okay. Well, Willow, thank you so much for joining me. It's been a really informative discussion. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you, David.
And thank you for watching. You've been watching me, David Dungay, on UC Today. If you like today's conversation, please give us a like and a share on social media. That's it from me. See you next time.